Hi guys, Bran here, and this is the second video coming through. We got the one yesterday talking about the general feelings I have about the anniversary announcements and all the updates that are coming to the game eventually. But this one is going to be specifically focused on my feelings about good old Vecta and the survivor that came with him, which I'm still not quite sure how to pronounce this name correctly. I'm sure I'll be corrected. Astri? Astri? Sounds like pastry. Asteri? Asteri? No, that's not it. Asteri? Asteri. Oh, I see. Okay. Asteri is apparently how you say it. That sounds much cooler. Okay, that works. That sounds way more awesome. But we're going to be talking about, regardless how I feel about the new upcoming Dungeons & Dragons chapter in the Pacific, as opposed to Atlantic, in Pacific, coming through here, because that is a big part of the big updates that people were excited about. So, in terms of Vecta themselves, I'm probably not going to tell you something that you haven't heard elsewhere with other channels. Vecta is extremely fun and one of the most deeply conceived killers in Dead by Daylight. I think the big thing that I have a takeaway that may not be commonly held is that it feels like Vecta is what the Knight was supposed to be, except perfected. So what I mean by that is, like, the whole perspective with Knight is that you're supposed to be one killer, but you have three little minions that allow you to go around the map and backer pressure the map using their different kind of abilities. They all chase and eventually hit, but they have different things that they do, like the Carnifex kick, the Assassin's faster speed, the guards farther detection, or Jailer's farther detection, and ergo his speed that he gets the further the detection is away, which is super cool. Ball and Jailer is the best. But like, still, regardless, despite their minor differences, they kind of all form the same function, which is it's still cool. I think of all the characters that are like, you know, I put myself at one end and you at the other, and I sandwich you. I feel like he's the most fun of that compared to like Dredge, Artist, other characters that have that capability. At this point, you could start Skull Merchant in that now too with the drone. Weird. Anyways, don't want to get into Skull Merchant conversation. People feel way too intensely about that, and I will never touch that again. But Vecta does all of that with 4 different spells that all have vastly different abilities that are all dynamic and affect both macro and micro play in really, really cool ways. He has Mage Hand, which is very cool and awesome, probably my second favorite. This one allows you to block a pallet or lift a pallet back up. This with the brown add-on that locks the pallet down for an extra second. Just kiss. This in combo with Bamboozle is such a glorious combination. Shack with Bamboozle and this spell with that add-on, like, good luck, brother. like you block the pallet, you vault through the window with Bamboozle. What does this survivor do? What does this survivor do? There's not a conjoined tile into Shack. They're just got a hose. It's hilarious to watch them squirm. Even stronger tiles and Juggle Dibs you can still do this strat with. It's so funny. But it's also interesting because Mage Hand kind of like works less well on like tiles that are shorter, which is interesting. But yeah, even with the application of the lifting up, there's still some ways you can kind of do a little bit of a Carnifex thing. Instead of breaking the pallet and walking through, you can lift the pallet and walk through, because the lifting up has less of a movement speed penalty than the other one. So that still has application. My favorite is the fly spell. When I first used it, I felt so childish, but it felt so good. It pleased the inner child to just be able to just zoom. Like, it just felt very fun, like, to actually go flying. This is also a very, very, like, good ability as well, not even just for traversal, because you can go through over windows and pallets, and if you time that correctly, you land, like, exactly in a spot where you can get the hit. Like, it's just, ooh, this in comparison, or this in tandem with the add-on that shuts down windows when you go through them, very, very good. Very, very good. It's very, very fun. Excellent ability. It has some depth to it. Like I said, you do suffer a little bit of a slowdown after you end the flight, but you can kind of use that to position yourself in a place where it's beneficial to you. There's a complexity to it also that's really, really fun and awesome. I just love this power. This is why I like this character so much. It's just the flying aspect. Dispelling Sphere is the next one, and it's cool. It is their info ability. It's a big old sphere that reveals survivors inside it, with Killer Instinct, which is cool. Obviously, my favorite killer perk in the game is Nowhere to Hide, so I would love anything anti-rat. Thank you, I appreciate that, especially with Ultimate Weapon being nerfed pretty severely. We'll take more anti-rat, thank you. I love that a lot. Lastly, we have Flight of the Damned, and once again, probably not going to tell you anything new here. Flight of the Damned is the one that sucks because you can just crouch it he sets up 5 little skeletal boys. They're supposed to injure you, but like you just crouch them. So I don't know. The only application I found for this is like if you're in a loop and they like you have to crouch to dodge them. So if they don't have urban, obviously, like pushing the crouch at like a longer loop makes them lose distance, and then you gain distance, and then you get the hit sometimes. There's that application. Also, if you're like far away behind walls, like I got a match on Larry's, and it was like I couldn't crouch because I didn't know exactly where the spectral entities, as they're called, the spectral entities. I didn't know where they were coming from, so I probably should just pre-crouch, but I didn't know where they were coming from. So there's a little bit of there's a little bit of situation there, a little bit of leeway where like you won't hear him cast the spell through multiple walls, you won't know to crouch, and you get clocked. But other than that, the spell's pretty useless. Well, it's kind of a hard one to balance because if you make this good, he just has all these other good abilities, and then he can have a ranged projectile that's really good as well. So you don't want to overpower him. So you gotta be a little bit careful, but it definitely could stand to be a little bit better. I've seen a lot of people complain about the magic items aspect of this, which I think is just kind of like, I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it adds a lot of like cool flavor to counterplaying this killer, and a lot of it is not necessarily like super detrimental to Vecta. Like the one that helps you see the dispelling sphere, it helps you stealth a little bit better, but you know, all this is RNG on which item you get out of the mimics anyway. So well, they're not all mimics, they're all chests, and then you know what I'm saying. That's fine. Seeing his aura after he flies, there's so many different perks that do that anyway. They'll give you a brief aura rating on the killer, including one that released with this patch we'll talk about. It's not actually that crazy. Like none of these effects that the items give are like too egregiously strong, so I'm not really worried about it. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm not wrong. But mostly seem fine. The one that seems to be an issue in general is the teleport locker one. Obviously, we've already been through this. We already suffered through this during the Halloween event where we'd be winning a chase, and for some reason, the survivor just has the ability to hop in a portal and just like win the chase for free, even though we didn't lose it. So that's kind of silly. But so bringing that back as an item is kind of goofy, and I'm not a fan with that. At least it costs a full health state to do, so you have to heal back up before you can use it again. I don't know. I think that we saw that was a bad idea, so bringing it back was not great. I'm sure survivors liked it though. In terms of the perks aren't like too much to write home about. The one that actually gets my attention is the Weave Attunement, and that's kind of like the Franklin's-esque one, which it does work in tandem with it, by the way. Just keep that in mind. You see the auras of dropped items when they're depleted, and it forces them to drop once they're depleted. And survivors within 8 meters of that item have their auras revealed to you. And every time a survivor picks up an item, they suffer the ability status effect for 30 seconds. So I think this is pretty neat. This is a pretty neat info perk. Obviously, a lot of people decide to slap on Franklin's and Lightborn when they see items in the lobby, as it is, anyways. So this is a far more effective tool than just like snatching the item out of their hands. This one, when the item depletes, it knocks it out of their hands automatically, and then you get all the info where they're at, and if they pick up another item, they're oblivious. Like this has a lot to it, and it's a pretty nice info perk. It's going to be one of those things that I feel like I'm not going to see it used a lot, not because it's bad, but just because like somebody would rather run a stronger info perk. But this is a nice info perk. Nothing bad here. Languid Touch is one of those like Mindbreaker ones where the 36 meters of a scared crow exhausted status effect kicks in for 10 seconds. It's almost like, like Mindbreaker. People like Mindbreaker's great, but like you never really know until the end game screen how much Mindbreaker value you got, or if they just didn't have the exhaustion perk you thought they had. People might start pairing this with Spies in the Shadows so they know when it's okay to not anticipate a exhaustion perk, which is fine. That's 2 perks to do one thing, so like it's different than just running pop pain res and a bunch of slowdown, right? So that's fine with me. Dark Arrogance is the funny one. Blind and pallet duration stuns are up by 25%, which sounds very awful, and it is when you get hit by it. But your regular vault speed is increased by 20%. So funny stuff like Myers, Wraith, Xenomorph included. Might put this on the new Speedy Vault build and replace something in that build. You just go really fast now. So something to increase the actual vault speed. Unbound was kind of in the same theme of that last chapter release, but that applied haste after the vault. It didn't actually affect the vault itself. So this is pretty cool because it is another really funny me vault window fast perk, and those are always goofy. I will say that does say regular vault speed. So like if you're using like Wesker Legion, something like that, obviously that's not going to apply. Also, in general, this is a complete aside because I wasn't really going to talk about the balance of perks and stuff in this video, but Bamboozle did get nerfed this patch. It used to be that even if you vaulted a window with your power, it blocked the window. It just wouldn't apply the extra speed boost. Now it has been patched out to where Bamboo doesn't work at all with like a Wesker Bound or a Legion Vault, so keep that in mind. In terms of the Survivor is really cool. I like the choice that they made them bards because, like, if you are familiar with D&D, bards are a little bit of a jack of all trades. They mostly work with like inspiring everybody else, which we'll get to as a perk, and they have some spells, but they're not better than a lot of spellcasters. And out of all the classes that could be a survivor in Dead by Daylight, I think it was an excellent pick to pick the bard. It's also our first non-human survivor in the game because the female one is an elf, which is neat. This also has the Legion effect where like this is just D&D characters in general. You know, they have a little band that they can add characters to later, just like how Susie or Legion can be Susie, Joey, Julie, or Frank. So that's neat. That's a nice little effect to have that on the Survivor side because that was specifically a Legion thing before. In terms of their perks, there's not a whole lot to write home about, which, you know, with how certain Survivor perks just suddenly become very disgustingly meta out of nowhere, I'm happy that there's not a lot going on, to be honest with you. Mirrored Illusion was my favorite, and it's the one that after 50% of progress on a gen, you can put a illusion, hence the name, on a totem, chest, junior, or exegate for 2 minutes. And that one's pretty cool. I have gotten tons of people to swing at that. tons and tons of people to swing at that, both on gens, on exegates. It just, when you're, one of the cool things that like good killers do is they try to keep track of gens far away. So they'll try to look and see if like the pistons on the top of the gen are moving up and down. And if they see that in the distance without the gen regressing and somebody on it, they're going to go try to interrupt you, which really far away, if you squint, you can't really tell if that's a real person or an illusion or not. So like this perk's actually really funny and also unironically kind of helpful. Like I like this one a lot. There's probably going to be like YouTuber bully videos of like, yeah, 4-man illusions, where are we? kind of videos. I can see those coming already. This perk's really fun. Bardic Inspiration is like the poster child of this patch in terms of perks. This is the one that you bring out the guitar. It's the guitar perk. It's an RNG perk because you have to roll a d20, and depending on what you roll, you get a plus to your skill checks up to +3, a natural 20. You do have to be motionless for up to 15 seconds for this to trigger. And it's kind of like prove thyself, where you have to be within a specific range of other survivors to get that to work at all. I agree with what Scott Junn said about this perk, that like solo queue, who cares? Perk's gonna be a meme perk, but in a group, this might be nasty. But then again, also counterpoint to my other counterpoint. I have said that about so many perks for the chapter releases for a PTB, and they never end up being problems. We said that about Wicked. People said that about Dark Theory at one point, if you can imagine. It's whatever, man. We'll see on live. We'll see on live, but I do see how that could potentially be an issue. But hopefully it's like every other time where we're just kind of like, you know, we're just being a little worrisome, and that's okay. Still Sight is the one I just like didn't care for. After staying still for 4 seconds, you see the killer's aura as well as generators and chest within 18 meters until you start moving again. Match time's gen time. You hear me say that in match reviews all the time. Standing still is not something I advise to do on either side. I don't know. I don't like this one too much. I think it's very like keeping your momentum in Dead by Daylight is kind of the name of the game. So asking you to literally just stand still. It's just kind of silly. I don't really like it too much, and its range is not fantastic, only 18 meters. I think this is a perk that you're gonna forget even exists, honestly. Yeah, those are my feelings about the D&D chapter coming to Dead by Daylight. How'd you feel about Vecta and the Asteri? No, Asteri. Fuck. How did I say that? Asteri. Asteri. That's cool. Yeah. How'd you feel about Asteri? And I don't even know what the other guy's name is. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I do upload daily, though. I will see you tomorrow. But if I do not, I will see you when I see you. Goodbye.